just by letting go of little things, you are massively stretching your psychological flexibility, because now you're trying things that are not as predictable. You stick with the old identity and your habits. They're pretty, I know what to expect if I'm going to sit on social media for 3 hours, because I've done it 1,000 times. And so but if I say no to that, now I have to deal emotionally with, okay, what's going to happen if I don't do that? And so that is gorgeous. It's so good for your psychological flexibility to begin operating from the filter, a much higher filter, and trying new things and letting go of the stuff that doesn't resonate with the person you're now wanting to become.
Yeah, and it's counterintuitive, because like people think that that picking a goal that's so seemingly out of reach is going to be more difficult, but that's actually the premise.
It simplifies the heck out of it when you go for a higher goal.
Yeah, and it forces a clean slate, right? It forces you to actually come up with a plan, as opposed to just doing what you've been doing, which has led to the linear growth. But linear growth is certainly not as exciting as exponential growth, and that's kind of the premise of your new book, right? 10x is easier than 2x.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, I mean that is the premise, is that when you go for something 10x, almost nothing's going to get you there. And so it forces you to find the few things that will. And that's the idea of the 80-20. If you're going for 2x growth, and this is a model that Dan made, Dan Sullivan, who I co-authored the book with, but if you're going for 2x growth in anything, then what that means is you can keep 80% of who you are, because 2x is very linear. It's, again, operating from the present into the future. That's what most people do, rather than letting the future operate on the present. And so when you make the future really big, just using it as a frame, then almost so the idea is if you're going for 2x, you can keep 80% of what you're doing. If you want to double the podcast, almost everything you're doing right now is going to get you there. You just got to tweak it by 20%. So you got to change 20%, maybe refine this, maybe a little bit different guests, maybe change this and that. You got to change it a little bit, maybe work a little harder, crank out a few more episodes or less, who knows. But you got to tweak it a little bit. But most of what you're doing right now is going to get you to 2x, which is meaning it's very linear. But if you're going to go for 10x, you're going to, just fundamentally, you're going to have to get really good, call it 10 times better at the core. And that's going to make you 10 times different as well. But 80% of what you're now doing won't be relevant at that. And so 80% represents what got you here and won't get you there, even if it's really good.